Libya, Syria, Iraq and Yemen have been the focus of the world's attention for months. But President Abdel Fattah El Sisi is seeking to put the Palestinian crisis back in the spotlight. In Tuesday's speech, he became the first Egyptian president to directly address Israel since Anwar al-Sadat more than 35 years ago.
With effort, true will and true faithfulness, a solution to this issue can be reached to give hope to the Palestinians and hope for the Israelis. It will be a new page for this region. It will not be less important what we have achieved in the peace treaty between Egypt and Israel. Some may say that this peace is not warm. There will be warmer peace if we can solve the issue for our Palestinian brothers.
El Sisi renewed calls for a two-state solution. He promised to work with both sides to reach required guarantees. Local analysts have welcomed his speech.
Egypt is taking a leading role to turn a new page in the region. It's rising up to its historic role in managing this crisis. The call will make global efforts concentrate on the focal crisis in the Middle East and Palestine.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also have welcomed Egypt's call. Israeli media is reporting that Netanyahu is preparing to visit Egypt to once again resume negotiations. President El Sisi might have created a new movement to revive talks, but the main challenges for the peace process remain. Palestinians are still divided. Their unity is crucial so that there would be one trusted entity that would lead the talks and be held accountable to execute agreements. Accepting the 1967 borders and freezing the settlements are still terms Israel must accept. Adel, Mahrouky, CCTV, Cairo.
Well, let's go live to Cairo and get the very latest now from CCTV's Adel Mahrouky. Adel, let's start with the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. Just tell us exactly what role Egypt intends to play in bringing an end to this conflict.
Egypt intends to continue its historic role. Basically, Egypt has always been a moderator, has always been a host for the dialogues between the Israelis and the Palestinians. And this is what President Abdel Fattah El Sisi stood up for the first time since he was elected, to say that Egypt will continue the talks, Egypt will lead discussions with the Palestinian side and the Israelis once again. This has always been the case since the foundation, or since particularly after the peace deal with Israel in the 70s, and afterwards this has always been the set. Now, Egypt's vision, from what appeared to be the remarks of President Abdel Fattah El Sisi during his speech on Tuesday, is that it wants to give guarantees to both sides, that when there is a two-state solution, when there is a Palestinian state next to an Israeli state, that there will be guarantees. This is what Egypt will work on, to give guarantees to both sides that no one will harm the other, that each state will live safely and stably in the region. He promised Israel to have warmer ties or warmer peace relations between him and the rest of the Arab world.
Now, Adel, as brief as it was in relation to this, now what was the significance then of John Kerry's visit to Egypt?
Well, John Kerry comes, mainly it was already a scheduled visit even before President El Sisi remarks on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. We've learned from the State Department, from their press releases, that right after President El Sisi's remarks, Kerry has spoken to Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, to be in touch and give an update exactly about what is Israel's vision. So he came to Cairo primarily for Libya and the regional crisis. They stood and talked together for 3 hours, but no precise details have been released except that both sides showed their intent and to cooperate together to maintain peace in the Middle East. For 3 hours they continued to talk, and just right after, Kerry have left Cairo back to resume his operation.
Well, I mean, as you mentioned before, Egypt does have a very important role to play in bringing about peace in the Middle East, but it's clear that Egypt can't do it alone. What does the country then require from the international community in order to bring about a lasting solution?
Well, if we're talking about the Israeli and Palestinian conflict, Egypt needs the entire world, the main players, of course, the key players, to focus with the Israeli side and the Palestinian, to unify the Palestinian side and to convince Israel that a two-state solution is now a necessity within the Arab initiative in 2002, stating that 1967 borders are those that will be only accepted by the Arab world, that Israel must stop its settlement process during the dialogue so that the negotiations can happen without pressuring any side, pressuring the other, and at the same time to maintain, and this is where the whole cooperation between the international community comes, is that to maintain peace along the borders of the two states when the Palestinian state is established. So this is the framework mainly that Egypt is trying to push forward. It needs the United States, need key players in the world like China and Russia who support the Arab view of the peace solution to this crisis. For Libya, Egypt needs to lift the arms embargo from the Libyan government, and therefore these are the two main border crises that Egypt wish or hopes to see a solution for very soon.
Thanks for that update, Adel Mahrouky, live for us there in Cairo.